I'm waiting for a man who says he's going to blow the lid off the secrets of the religion of the stars, to tell the story of the dark side of the Church of Scientology.
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist, and it's something that you have to earn.
Stars like Tom Cruise and John Travolta say Scientology works for them.
If they had had Scientology or Dianetics, they would have been here today, whether it's Elvis or Marilyn.
The church says it's the fastest growing religion in the world. But the charge against the organization?
It's a dangerous cult.
That obsessively controls people, records their secrets and those of the stars.
I mean, I saw those videos.
And did they include personal things?
Absolutely.
Things that Cruise would not want people to know?
Absolutely.
And rips families apart.
He hugged me and told me he loved me. And then he left.
Here it's had millions of pounds of tax breaks and it's trying to expand. So, a force for good or something more sinister? The man I'm waiting for will provide some answers about the Church of Scientology. But it's not going to be easy. Because, if you investigate them, they will come for you. I know, because I've done it before.
Are you listening to me for a second?
No, stop there, Tommy.
No. I don't understand the nature of you.
Whoa.
In 2007, I investigated Scientology. They sent their top handlers to try and stop me.
So obstinately juvenile, it's unbelievable.
One of them, Mike Rinder, official spokesman for the church and boss of its Office of Special Affairs.
That never happened. Ever happened. It's a catch-22, John. That's ridiculous.
All right, well, let's cut to the chase.
That's ridiculous.
Another, his colleague, Tommy Davis.
Buddy, you got it. Right here, right now. I'm angry. Real angry. Second,
in the end, they got to me.
No, Tommy, you stop! No, listen to me! You were not there at the beginning of that interview!
I apologized then, and I apologize now. But I'm entering that world again. This time, I've got help from the inside. This time I'll know the tactics they'll be using against me. Because the man I'm waiting for is perhaps the last person on earth the Church of Scientology would want me to meet. That man, one of the men against me last time, the former official spokesman of the Church of Scientology.
Welcome to London.
Nice to see you again.
That's ridiculous.
Mike Rinder. This is a meeting I'd never dreamt would take place. 3 years ago, Mike Rinder did his utmost to stop Panorama making a program about the Church of Scientology. He was at the center of Scientology's attack dog operation. Mike Rinder was the public face of Scientology, loyal defender of the church. Our last encounter was 3 years ago. We didn't hit it off.
Those allegations are absolute, utter rubbish. Absolute, utter rubbish.
Now he's defected. A traitor.
It was just a matter of I couldn't take it anymore. I will tell you, John, I felt like I had been freed.
Mike's talking as if he's been liberated. He's hinting at a dark side of the church to which he was once so devoted.
But this was the moment then. This was the moment when you said, goodbye, I'm out, I've had enough.
This is exactly it. It happened right here.
But leaving came at a cost. He became an enemy of the church. His family, who'd stayed inside, would cut him out of their lives.
I knew as I was walking out of this building, that was the last time that I would ever talked to my wife. It was the last time I'd ever talked to my children. It was the last time I'd ever talked to any of the rest of my family.
Mike was turning his back on the church he joined when he was just 6 years old. His parents were early converts, getting into Scientology nearly 50 years ago.
That is the house that we all lived in 1969 when my parents were here.
Mike shows me the church's Holy of Holies, St. Hill in East Grinstead, Sussex, where he spent part of his childhood. He's out of the church, but still believes in Scientology and its founder, L. Ron Hubbard.
It has great significance to Scientologists because it's the home of L. Ron Hubbard. He lived here in the 60s, and that big building that you see over there is the manor, the St. Hill Manor. That was where he lived.
Man is asleep.
L. Ron used to write science fiction, and then he wrote a religion.
We are the only ones who study the spirit, so we have to use the word Scientology.
L. Ron claimed Scientology could create a civilization without insanity, without criminals, without war.
This was the center of the Scientology universe at that point, and it was a very exciting place. There was always a lot of people just thoroughly enjoying themselves and enjoying the fact that they were a part of something that was very new and very different.
What is Scientology? How would you describe it?
Well, it's very interesting. You've just asked a question like, what are the contents of the Encyclopedia Britannica? Answer in one word.
L. Ron believed in a form of reincarnation. Through counseling, they call it auditing, you unlock and examine pain caused in past lives, which scar your present.
This couple are training themselves to clear their minds, ready to absorb the message of Scientology.
The goal for a Scientologist is to reach a state of enlightenment called clear, where harmful subconscious thoughts have been wiped out.
You wouldn't express any of these emotions, covert hostility, anger, pain, antagonism, boredom, because you're well and happy.
Scientology's goal? To clear the planet. But there is nothing clear about the Church of Scientology. Since its birth, it's been clouded by controversy. I wanted to investigate this self-styled church. The accusation? It's a cult. The church has long denied that it is any such thing. Now its former official spokesman and head of the Office of Special Affairs has left, bringing its secrets with him.
The church today doesn't really resemble the church that I knew when I was growing up. And there are a lot of things that are happening or have happened that are really eating away at the core of the religion from inside. People are not able to think for themselves, where they really are being suppressed, where they're being abused. They live an unhappy life. It's not a happy existence at all.
But this is the face of the Church of Scientology now, the face it wants to show to the world.
Our ability to eradicate drug abuse and awaken populations to the inherent moral decency within them, all this is now possible on a previously unimaginable scale.
When L. Ron died in 1986, the church lived on. A new leader, David Miscavige, rose to the top.
But the truth of the matter is that just me and we are the most powerful force on this earth.
Under Miscavige, best man to Tom Cruise at his wedding to Katie Holmes, Scientology reaches out to the stars. And the stars bless the church with publicity, whether it's Travolta handing out aid in Haiti or Cruise at Ground Zero.
If you've heard we are the fastest growing religion on earth, it's true.
Or so he says. The church boasts 11 million square feet of property around the world, worth millions, if not billions of dollars. It hasn't said how much money it's got, but it's clear the church is worth a bob or two. and it's pushing for more.
Okay, so check this out. So here's the crusade.
More churches, more buildings, more funds to be raised.
You gotta locate a building. You gotta find a perfect building in a perfect location that we all dig on. This is
the crusade.
It's also a church that has an aggressive attitude to outsiders. In 2007, I set out to investigate the church, but the program became about the extraordinary lengths the church would go to try and stop me. One of the main charges? That it spies on people who dare to scrutinize it. And Mike knows what really happened last time.
A load of horseshit.
Strangers watching me at breakfast. Day after day after day. We're being followed by a Range Rover. Cars following us around. Again. We're being followed again. It's a black Nissan. There it is. And again. And again. A Sedona or a Range Rover will track along this road shortly. Of course, I may be completely paranoid. Oh, there it is. Back then, the church denied spying on us.
And now I'm having you followed.
Yeah.
It seems to me that you're the one who's gone a bit creepy.
But whenever I met a critic, the church seemed to know. There's a car here, and somebody stopped.
Mr. Davis, I assume. Nice to meet you.
According to Miscavige's agents, I was paranoid.
I don't know what you're talking about. It
Nothing
seems
to
me
do
you're
with
getting
you.
a bit paranoid.
Was I being paranoid?
No. You were being followed.
We were being followed.
Yes.
And who gave the orders to follow us?
It would have come under my purview.
There's no doubt in your mind that we were followed by the Church of Scientology?
No doubt whatsoever.
There it is. Okay, there we are. The BBC has obtained messages to and from Scientology's high command about the operation against Panorama. They go between Tommy, Mike, and the office of David Miscavige, the leader of the church. They also show that David Miscavige's office knew what we were up to, where we were staying.
Last night, Mike and I went to Sweeney's hotel around 10 p.m. I checked their rooms and found out they were not at the hotel. Sweeney showed up around 12:30.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Tommy. Hello, hi.
I have nothing to shake hands with you on.
Okay.
Yeah, I find it considerably obnoxious what you've done.
Where we were going?
We continued surveilling them and saw that they did not leave for Vegas this morning.
Correct. We didn't fly to Vegas, but stayed in Florida and just drove up the road. Oh, hi, Tommy. Hello. Hi, hello. How are you? I was just wondering where you are, and there you are. Fantastic. Simple test. There's a gap. We were in Florida, and then we went to LA. Where did we go in between?
You went to San Francisco. I was there.
What do you mean you were there?
I knew that you were there. I followed you from San Francisco airport to the hotel that you stayed at and the one that was sitting on the corner, and I was there.
The church still says we weren't spied on. David Miscavige says the suggestion that he and his office monitored any such operation communicating with Rinder and Davis is absolute and total nonsense. The church categorically denies it too, but admits private eyes were tasked to track and document us. An overt operation, they say, not spying. With Mike Rinder, Marty Rathbun. The two men pose a new threat to the organization. Marty used to be an Inspector General of the church. After 27 years inside, he left in 2004. Mike and Marty still believe in Scientology as a faith, but they object to the way the church is run. They're spearheading what they call a reformation. They say the church is not expanding but contracting. The church says they're heretics, men no longer welcome in the church after years of incompetence and misconduct. We're actually, funny enough, we're being filmed by that lady over there.
That's funny.
But she was filming us.
No, her camera's still in her hand. It's in the right hand.
Yeah. got that?
An E-meter.
Mike and Marty are about to do something to me that the church wouldn't want them to do. Unlike other religions, the Church of Scientology fiercely copyrights its scriptures and legally protects its practices. And that includes auditing at the core of the faith. First, you have to connect yourself to an E-meter.
It's a fairly simple device. It literally is a resistance meter.
Probed by the E-meter, Scientologists unlock what's wrong deep in their minds so that they can trace and banish negative influences from present and past lives. This is like a lie detector. It feels a bit like a lie detector.
Yeah, well, actually, it detects the truth, but...
It's a truth detector.
It's a truth detector, yeah.
Marty was once one of Scientology's top auditors, confessor to, amongst others, Tom Cruise, Kirstie Alley, and John Travolta.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch you. And I want you to just watch and see what the needle does when I pinch you. Just note it, okay?
Okay.
Watch. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now what I want you to do, and keep watching the needle, is recall the moment of that pinch. Right there. You saw that?
That's,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, now...
That's a bit creepy.
Yeah, it is. Now...
Because my mind remembered the pinch.
Right.
And then that registered on the...
Exactly. Just run through...
The E-meter, they believe, helps you uncover repressed thoughts. It didn't take Marty long to find a naughty thought of mine.
Are you nervous or concerned about something?
I'm fighting this.
I got you.
I'm thinking of something I'm not going to tell anyone about.
I can tell that.
and
you don't have to.
This is a naughty thought.
Yeah.
Which, and does it tell you it's a naughty thought?
Well, it tells me that you don't want to share it. That's all it tells me.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can tell whether I'm agitated about a line of thinking, a line of questioning.
You got it.
They say that by the end of the session, once you've offloaded your negative thoughts, you feel a better person. So come this way. Scientologists are obsessed with the mind, and that includes drills to alter behavior. But Mike and Marty say this knowledge can be used to unsettle and upset outsiders, like me.
We're allowed to ask questions. We're allowed to go on the street and ask that.
Nobody is objecting to you asking questions.
Oh, hello, what are you doing here? What is all this about?
I came to talk to you.
Oh, no.
The technique is to push your buttons. People have emotional buttons. They have things that set them off, and they study you for that, and then watch you very carefully. You know, I mean, you always compare notes. I'm sure you and Tommy compared notes, like, you know, he's got a button on this, so, you know, he's going to push it next time. Bigot, there you go.
That was the
religious bigot, right?
I'm not a bigot. I'm not a bigot.
No, you are. You're a closed-minded bigot. You are a bigot. You're the bigot. I, Tom Davis, say John Sweeney is a bigot.
Call me a bigot annoys me because I'm not a bigot.
I understand that.
But hold on a second.
But if I keep cutting you off like this, I will actually drive you nuts. If every time you start to say something I cut you off, that's another way. If every time you start to say something I cut you off, it's another way of getting you so that you become emotionally upset.
It builds up like a dam. All these things you want to originate keep getting cut off, and it builds up like a dam, and finally it explodes.
And it's one of these things.
It's
you
annoying.
see what?
It's
very
annoying.
It's annoying. But I want to say something.
No, you're not allowed to say anything right now.
I've got a louder voice than both
you can't. Bigots are not allowed to talk.
Back in 2007, I had faced days of pressure from the church. Then they took me to their Industry of Death exhibition. One of the beliefs of the church is that psychiatry is evil, damaging humanity around the world. For 90 minutes, I had a tour through madness. And then a leading Scientologist took me through what they say psychiatrists did in the Holocaust.
And the psychiatrists set up the whole euthanasia campaign in the concentration camps. They went into the concentration camps and they set it up and they decided who was going to be killed.
Then Tommy Davis and I clashed again, and I lost it.
Oh, Tommy, you didn't do that.
Right, now, hold a second, Tommy. No, stop there, Tommy.
No, I'm not stopping
No.
here. You listen to me for a second. You're accusing members of my religion of engaging in brainwashing.
No, Tommy, you stop now! No, listen to me! You were
Brainwashing
not
is a
there
crime.
at the beginning of that interview!
Although I'm not excusing my reaction, Mike and Marty explained to me that I'd given the church exactly what it wanted. Was that a setup?
A setup probably is the wrong word. It was the intention of Tommy to create that effect on you, to goad you into a reaction like that. In fact, Tommy had announced to David Miscavige specifically that he was the person that should be dealing with you because he could drive you psychotic.
The church says I'm just trying to falsely excuse what it calls my totally unprofessional behavior. It says no Scientology techniques were used against me, and I can't justify myself by saying that Tommy Davis set out to aggravate me. But the messages to the leader's office seem to tell a different story. After I lost it, Tommy Davis sent this message.
I am definitely the person who drives him more psychotic than anyone. He goes nuts around me, and I'm going to keep it up.
Did Miscavige want this to happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely, no question.
Mike says these messages are typical.
Any other details, you generality-infested CSMF?
CSMF stands for cock-sucking mother... Well, you get the idea.
And it was like YSCOHB. And then the next, that would be the little message, and then the next one would be, well, did you figure it out yet? You know, that would be like 5 seconds after the one before. Did you figure it out yet? Come on, answer, answer, answer. And what that stood for was, you suck cock on Hollywood Boulevard.
We asked the Church of Scientology about the abuse of staff with obscene language. It was denied. It also says any such messages must be fraudulent. Around the world, the church craves respectability. In Britain, the Charity Commission doesn't recognise it as a religion, but it's won concessions as a not-for-profit educational organisation, including tax rebates and rates relief worth millions. The church has boasted of contacts with government officials, and Tory MP Charles Hendry, now the Minister for Climate Change, who has a seat near East Grinstead, says he was speaking on behalf of Scientology constituents when he put their case in 2005.
Although Scientology may be very controversial, but undoubtedly, as human beings, they do a great deal of good. That certainly, as an organisation, it's gone through serious hoops in terms of making sure it has the right to broadcast on television, satisfying the Broadcasting Commission that it isn't a cult and aspects like that.
But back in 1984, a judge called it exactly that, a cult. Ruling on a child custody battle, the judge said that the Church of Scientology was corrupt, sinister and dangerous, out to capture people and brainwash them. So, a force for good, or a brainwashing cult? I'm going back to the home of Scientology, the USA. Here, the most damning allegations have been made against the church. But it's also where Scientology is most popular and recognized as a religion by the taxman. Its founder, L. Ron Hubbard, has even a street named after him. I bump into Scientologists on their way to courses.
Church of Scientology is the best church.
It's fantastic. Tremendous amount of educational materials in terms of communication skills, talking to people, handling life. We have a whole business program where people can learn about business and how to run their businesses better.
It changed my life. That's why. It really changed my life. quite dynamics, and I'm having a ball.
And it's just been so beneficial to make me a happy, stable person and to make me more productive in life. It's been just tremendous.
Well, they seem happy enough. However, I'm not welcome. The church wants me off the project. They've refused me access, saying my last film showed me to be biased against them and a liar. But there are people who do want to speak to me, and they come from the very heart of it, the church's holy order. Their accusations threaten to blow the church apart. They are ex-members of the Sea Organization, Sea Org for short, the people who run the church, so named because L. Ron Hubbard had been in the US Navy and liked things shipshape. Uniformed and regimented, if you join the Sea Org, often in your teens, you sign a contract pledging to serve the church for all your life and all your future lives to come. It's a billion-year contract. Back in 2007, very few people were willing to be openly critical of the church. Today, that's changing. Claire and Mark Headley were practically born into the church, and they signed the billion-year contract, becoming employees of the Sea Org when they were both just 16.
My mother joined the Sea Organization when I was 4 years old.
Now they're out. This family scene is a far cry from their lives in the Sea Org. They were in to gain spiritual freedom and to help spread the message of Scientology around the world, but inside, they felt anything but free.
There's 24/7 security, cameras, people everywhere. You know, it's definitely a very strict operating environment. Fear and intimidation, for me personally and from what I've observed with others, was the dominant controlling emotions of my life for 20 years, certainly the entire time I was on staff.
The couple have tried to sue the church, but their case was dismissed under a legal exemption covering religious employment. They're appealing the decision. The church controls the most personal aspects of life in the Sea Org. No sex before marriage. No marriage to anyone outside. Claire, just 19 and married to Mark, realized that she was pregnant, and in the Sea Org, that's not on.
That's specifically what their own policy states. The Sea Organization is not in the business of raising children or raising babies. It's not in their business model.
For Claire to have her baby, she would have to leave the Sea Org. Fearing it meant leaving her only home and breaking from her family, she felt an abortion was her only option. 2 years later, and the couple were posted 2,000 miles apart.
I was in Clearwater, Florida, when I found out I was pregnant. I requested authorization to be able to call him. That was disapproved, not allowed. So I literally could not even tell him about it until 8 months after the fact, when I next saw him in person.
Unable to talk things through with her husband, she had another abortion. Claire is not alone. Other women who have left the Sea Org tell of similar experiences.
It was absolutely the most horrifying, upsetting, deeply disturbing situation I've ever been in.
You couldn't say, I was pregnant and I decided to have an abortion because otherwise I'd have to leave the Sea Org.
And I'd never see him again.
The church says Claire made a statement at the time that she did not want the child and never wanted children. It confirms pregnant women cannot remain in the Sea Org, but they are free to leave with their husbands. It adds it doesn't stop married couples from speaking. I wanted to know more about the hold the church has over the lives of people in the Sea Org.
So where is it?
On the edge of the Californian desert, I meet Marty Rathbun again. With him, Amy Scobie. Like Marty, Amy is now a defector. Between them, they gave more than 50 years service to the church in the Sea Org.
So where are we going?
This is International Scientology headquarters. 5 miles up the road, several hundred staff there. There's film studios, there's you know, groups of managers. It's where David Miscavige has his home base and basically runs Scientology from.
And you two, did you work here?
Yes, I did. For 20 years, I worked here.
It's the first time they've both been back since leaving the church.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
In 2005, Amy Scobie broke her billion-year contract, leaving after a mere 26 years.
Oh, God, this is bringing back memories. Okay, here we go.
Behind the gates, Scientology's international headquarters. They call it INT, or Gold.
These are the buildings that were built so that no staff member on the property has to live outside of the fence.
Right.
No sooner had we arrived when someone was on our case.
You know those chaps?
No, they're hired people.
Let me introduce myself.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's John Sweeney. I'm from the BBC.
All right.
Hi.
What's that?
Who do you work for?
I was hired by legal counsel to document anything.
Thank you very much.
This is the nerve center of the global empire. The church describes it as a luxurious place of work, rest and play.
This communal pool and barbecue facility, or the tennis courts, or the basketball courts, or the sand volleyball courts.
But the way Amy describes it, it was anything but.
We're living here on a restricted compound with our whole, no days off, family, you know, lines being cut. I mean, sure, it's beautiful. The food wasn't all that bad, whatever, but it doesn't justify. That is not the world we are trying to create.
And leaving's not easy. In order to go, you face weeks of procedures, sign statements praising the church, and can be handed a bill which can run into thousands and thousands of pounds. The church confirms that members who break their religious covenants have to follow a standard procedure and pay a freeloader debt. It says this is a religious matter between the Sea Org member and the church.
You spent the best years of your life behind this fence. And it feels, the way you've been telling it to me, as though you woke up one morning and realized the whole thing was what?
It's a dangerous cult. There's a certain tolerance level that you're willing to make because you do feel it's your spiritual immortality at stake and your family at stake. And you don't have, I didn't have any money or resources or anything to turn back on.
Because this is your family.
It was my life. It was my life since I was 14 years old. And I was in my mid-40s.
A dangerous cult? That's not the word on Hollywood Boulevard. Here, the connection between Scientology, celebrity and success is written on the sidewalk.
It really is fun. Because damn it, there is nothing better than to going out there and fighting a fight and suddenly you see things are better. And I think about those people out there who are depending on us.
Being a star means a stellar service. The celebs get their very own churches, luxurious and cosseted. Amy Scobie was in charge of these celebrity centres. And when we go for a wander, it seems we're expected.
We've been filming for an hour, and he's still here.
Back in 2007, Mike and Tommy had arranged for me to interview Scientology's Defenders of the Faith. I put to them what the British judge had said, that it was a brainwashing cult. The celebs gave as good as they got. Then they refused to let the BBC broadcast their interviews. But we can show them to you now for the first time because the celebs were happy to take part in Panorama Exposed, Scientology's film investigating us, put out after our film investigating them. Executive producer, Mike Rinder. It's a cracking watch.
To this point, having only filmed interviews with detractors,
This is Sweeney's opportunity to find out what Scientology really is from those who know best, Scientologists.
It's a sinister, brainwashing cult.
Would you ever sit with a Jew and tell them that their religion was a cult?
No. Some people say, some people say, some people will say, some people say, some people say, some people say, some people say that it's a sinister brainwashing cult. What would you say to that?
I know. Some people have also said that women are really stupid and shouldn't vote.
Some people would say you're a member of a brainwashing cult. Some way brainwashed. You are brainwashed. You're brainwashed.
Do I look brainwashed to you? How dare you?
What I didn't know was what was going on behind the scenes. Tommy, Ann Archer's son, and Mike were keeping David Miscavige's office informed. His office replied,
"And is this guy's body now many new, torn, worn-to-wall assholes?"
That's my body they're talking about. But some people in Hollywood are no longer in love with Scientology. Jason Begay, star of G.I. Jane and Thelma and Louise, quit after 13 years inside the church.
Don't scream at me. Come on in, welcome.
How do they treat you?
Oh, they're spoiled rotten, you know. They just love bomb the shit out of you. I mean, it's, and it's sincere. It's not a routine. I mean, I could ask for anything, and there would be somebody who would be there to do it for you.
But those days are over. Jason is now campaigning against the church.
Why did I get into it? Because I was interested in finding out about myself and understanding other people. You know, the same reasons anybody might investigate a philosophy or a religion. But I also kind of couched that in the concept that even the best mousetrap in the world isn't going to work without cheese.
And that slice of cheese cost Jason and his wife a bob or two. A rough estimate?
I would say about $1 million.
The church says, as a young religion, it depends upon its parishioners as its primary source of financial support. It confirms that some services are free, but members pay fixed donations for others. It adds the donations of Jason and his wife are entirely a matter for them. Back in town, I meet Larry Anderson, star of Martians Go Home and Star Trek Insurrection.
Activating injector assembly. Injector assembly has separated.
Right this instant, you are at the threshold of your next trillion years.
And also the star of the Church of Scientology's recruiting films. He's the face that welcomed you in, and now he too is out.
The choice is yours, not ours.
Larry spent 33 years in the church.
I began to speculate that those early gains and those wins, as they say in Scientology, I was having was, I sort of call it bait. It's the thing, it's the hook to bring you in.
Scientology features a series of steps called operating thetan levels, OTs. And for each OT level you have to cough up. The critics say that makes it a pay-as-you-go religion. After spending decades in the church and hundreds of thousands of dollars, Larry does something he's not supposed to do. He looks up Scientology's critics on the internet.
As a Scientologist, you are not only encouraged, you are really have your arms twisted never to look at media. If you see a church story in the church, turn it off, because it'll only destroy the gains that you've gotten up till now. Well, I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to go online.
The church says there is no such censoring. It adds people may feel better if they were to cease watching or reading the news, where much of the media, such as Panorama, are merchants of chaos. When Larry went online, he discovered a secret that the church had kept from him for 30 years. At the heart of Scientology is this secret, only revealed when you've paid enough to reach operating thetan level 3. They call it the Wall of Fire. Panorama told the secret never to be told back in 1987.
Beings were captured on other planets and flown to locations near 10 volcanoes or more on Earth.
It was Elrond's belief that humanity is infected by spirits of dead space aliens banished to Earth by an intergalactic warlord, Lord Xenu.
A revolt followed of the loyal officers against Xenu. Xenu was locked up in an electronic mountain fortress and remains there still.
Xenu is all over the internet. Ex-members have confirmed its existence to me. And yet you don't get far if you raise the issue with practicing Scientologists. Back in 2007, I put it to the celebs. After all, many of them are operating thetans.
Xenu, an intergalactic warlord, banished souls from alien souls, banished them to Earth and then blew them up next.
Kirsty Alley, operating thetan level 7, said it wasn't true.
Is an evil galactic warlord who blew up bits of aliens.
Juliet Lewis giggled and denied it.
The galactic warlord who 75 million years ago sort of put people's aliens.
John, I already answered this too. I told you it's, none of us know what you're talking about. It's like loony. It's weird. It makes you look weird.
But Jason Begay does know about it. He made it to OT3.
The justification for keeping it secret within those scriptures is that this is such powerful information that somebody who hasn't done the previous steps to arrive at being able to be exposed to this would actually probably die. They would go into something called freewheeling, where they wouldn't be able to sleep, and they would go insane, and they would basically die of pneumonia and lack of sleep. Keeping something rare makes it more valuable. And it's a way to keep people interested and to pay a premium to gain the information.
In that sense, or question, is it a religion or is it a racket?
You know, they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, are they?
When you walk into a church of Scientology, no one will mention Lord Xenu, and that makes it completely different from other faiths. For example, Christians don't say, "What crucifixion?" The church wouldn't respond directly on the Xenu issue, but said that less than 1% of its scriptures are unpublished, and that keeping material confidential is not unusual for a religion. It confirmed that knowledge handed out in its highest levels is restricted until Scientologists are spiritually and ethically prepared to receive it. One of the reasons critics call it a cult is what they do with your darkest secrets.
And does it tell you it's a naughty thought?
Well, it tells me that you don't want to share it. That's all it tells me.
Yes.
Remember how the e-meter picked up that naughty thought I had? Auditing covers every aspect of your life. Work, play, sex, sexuality. And these secrets aren't just between you and your auditor. They're routinely recorded.
There's a specific VIP room for all the A-listers. John Travolta, Tom Cruise, and I audited Tom Cruise there. And there's a shelf in there, and it has a false glass mirror panel behind it. If you pull the strip out, on the other side of it is a video camera.
When I was working for the Scientology organization, I installed over 100 rooms that had 2 cameras and a microphone in them where people would get auditing.
Is the camera obvious?
No. No.
It's hidden?
Yes, in most cases it's inside of a smoke detector or inside of a picture frame. Or we're talking about pinhole cameras.
The church says it does film auditing, but that this is not a secret and has been announced publicly. Cameras are fitted within walls to stop them being intrusive and unsightly. The church also says that auditing secrets are sacrosanct, protected by priest-penitent confidentiality and never revealed.
What are you seeing? What are you looking at?
Marty sitting in the chair, the e-meter, and on the opposite side of the table, Tom Cruise holding the cans and the whole thing. So I mean, I saw those videos.
And did they include personal things?
Absolutely.
Things that Cruise would not want people to know?
Absolutely.
But the church says recording is not a breach of confidentiality. Other Scientologists are authorized to listen in. Selected staff are given access for the purposes of training and monitoring. Auditing confessions, they say, are secret. But this is a church that likes to keep records. It admits that other personal information about you can be used against you. So beware if you dare to leave. When actor Jason Begay tried to leave, he had a visit from a church official.
He comes over to my house with these thick, loose-leaf binders with information and awful photographs.
The official tried to persuade Jason to stay by showing him the dirt on critics of the church.
And then it was all this stuff. This guy wears a dress, and all this stuff just going on. And I'm like, well, first of all, this guy was a Scientologist, and you're telling me he's in a dress. Where do you get that data?
The church categorically denies using such tactics to try to dissuade Scientologists from leaving the church. When Amy went public with her accusations against the church went public against her with details of her sex life. In its online magazine, the church labelled Amy the adulteress and accused her of wanton sexual behaviour, something she denies. And the church also sent a newspaper the dirt, she says, to blacken her name. This was your uttermost intimate secrets.
That's right. And like the details of how I had sex with my husband before we got married is not something that should go to a newspaper. And they made it the world's business by issuing it on the internet and in a magazine that went to 100,000 or more people. It went to all my neighbors.
The church admits sending the newspaper material about Amy's sex life. It claims the information was from an affidavit signed by her and therefore not confidential. Amy disputes this, saying the church handed over handwritten confessions which she believed were confidential. Again, we weren't alone. Throughout my time in California, I had shadows on my case. If there was any doubt that the agents were working for the Church of Scientology, these pictures were sent to my bosses at the BBC via the church's British lawyers, Carter Ruck, claiming I must be biased against the church as I was overly familiar with its critics. I left California and headed across the USA to Clearwater, Florida, the new front line in the war between the church and its critics. A town with more Scientologists per head of population than anywhere else in the world. But it's also home to the Reformation movement of independent Scientologists. They still believe in Scientology as a blueprint for living. They just don't like the organization or its leader. Mike Rinder, the former voice of the church, is now a voice of this new movement. He introduces me to Marika James. Late last year, she and her family left the church and joined the Reformation. How long were you inside the Church of Scientology?
All my life, 27 years.
Marika's parents ran the UK's Birmingham org for many years.
I've gotten a lot out of Scientology. It makes you understand life better. Scientology is very different from the actual church and the organization and the management.
But the church keeps the heat up on these heretics.
Oh, here they are. Right on time.
Now, Isn't that a thing?
Same guy?
Hello. 2,000 miles and less than 24 hours in Clearwater. One of the agents from California. We've met before, obviously. Who's this gentleman over here? Hi, I'm John Sweeney from the BBC. Hello. I don't want to shake his hand because he's working. You're not going to shake my hand? Okay. Have you been told by the church not to talk to us? So that's quite a good question, isn't it? Very good. Let's carry on. But we didn't carry on. We decided to leave. We're being followed again. Mike, once the head of OSA, the Office of Special Affairs, the hunter, is now the hunted. Right to his front door. You, sir, have been following this man, Mike Rinder, to his house. And I put it to you that that is an intrusion, that you are harassing this man. If this isn't harassment, what is it? Is this how this church goes about its business? A religious organization, an organization that says it's entitled to be treated as a religion? The Church of Scientology was Mike Rinder's life for nearly 50 years. He married and became a father while in it. Now he and his family are part of the battleground. Earlier this year, Mike and other anti-church campaigners went armed with a camera to a Scientology building in Clearwater, where he believed his son Ben worked. He hasn't had contact with him in 3 years.
Be sure to see Benjamin Rinder. They're here in front of me, they want to get in. They want to see some Benjamin. They don't want to see you.
Ben refused to meet his father. The church described Mike's actions as a stunt. Mike says he's a victim of a Church of Scientology policy, disconnection. For people who accuse the church of being a cult, the most damaging charge is that it splits families apart, mothers from daughters, fathers from sons. The accusation is that if you leave without the church's blessing, you'll lose your family still inside the church. No hugs, no phone calls, no birthday cards, no contact. In Mike's case, the church says he abandoned his family. In late April, Mike drove his girlfriend Christy to a medical appointment.
I turned around and there were 7 people marching toward me in business suits.
Did you recognize anybody?
Oh yeah, of course I recognized all of them. There was my brother was there, my daughter was there, my ex-wife was there.
He'd not seen his wife and daughter for 3 years. They were joined by 4 officials from the church, 7 against 1.
The first words that I heard out of their mouth were, "You fucker, you fucker, you fucker."
What the church didn't know was that Mike was on the phone to a reporter, and that reporter was me.
The intention of it was intimidation. It was to get me worried about every time I get out of a car that someone is going to jump on me and start screaming in my face, or some family member is going to show up with a gang who are going to try and, you know, cave me in some way.
You're talking my church! You're talking
And then the police arrived. During the incident, Mike's ex-wife hurt her arm. The church said Mike attacked her. He denies that. The police report found no intentional battery, no charges were filed. Mike is not alone. Many of those I spoke to on my journey had a story of disconnection. They told of a church of cruel choices.
We're living that every day of our lives. Our children are living that.
Claire and Mark Headley. Leaving has cost them their families. Their little boys have never seen their grannies.
My mother has never met her only grandchildren, and her parents have never met their only grandchildren.
Rather than leaving the church with its blessing, Mark and Claire fled.
The next day, my mother, my stepfather, my brother, or my half-brother, my two half-sisters, were all pulled in by Scientology and told that I was a suppressive person and they could have no further contact with me.
The church says it is a fundamental human right to cease communication with someone. It adds disconnection is used against expelled members and those who attack the church. It says Mark and Claire Headley have been declared suppressive persons and expelled. The family's decision not to have contact is theirs alone.
Speaking to me would risk their and all of mankind's future eternity.
The last phone call I had with my sister was her bawling her eyes out, telling me that she could never talk to me again, and she could not talk. She had to hang up. That was the last conversation I had with my sister in January 2005. I haven't talked to her since.
Marika James was set to marry her fiancé, a fellow Scientologist. Then her parents left the church and were deemed enemies. When she refused to take the church's side against them, it was crunch time for her fiancé.
He had a choice, Scientology or me.
When they last met, they had company. The Office of Special Affairs, OSA, came too.
Mark tells me that they're not here to try and handle me or anything like that. They're just here to help him get his stuff and to make sure that there's not a scene.
And then what happens?
He gave me some money. He gave me £100. And he said that he hoped that I would sort myself out. And he hugged me and told me he loved me. And then he left.
The church disputes their final meeting was supervised by OSA personnel and says the choice of Marika's fiancé was his and his alone. More than anything else, the Church of Scientology craves respectability. It strives to get that by property portfolio.
Dweller H.
And celebrity endorsement.
So what do you say, we can clean this place up?
But respectability doesn't come with spying, intimidation, as the church has done to Mike Rinder. With spilling the dirt on people's sex lives, as the church has done to Amy Scobie. Or tearing families apart, as the church has done to the Headleys.
Wow, this one's very strong.
So it's not surprising that some people continue to sum up the Church of Scientology in one word: cult.
Documentary about your company.
Who's making the documentary?
I've got the paperwork in my car. I'm
Okay,
not sure.
you don't know?
No.
I can tell you, well, when I get a job, I know who I'm working for, but as it happens, I work for the BBC all the time.
If you want me to stop shooting you, I can stop shooting you.
No, I'm happy. All I'm interested in doing is noting the facts, documenting. You don't know who you're working for.